for the royal appointment. Full disclosure, this is my second time recording this. I realized part of my problem the first time is that it's really hard right now to grapple with the lack of humanity when there is so much of it going on in the world. It's hard to see another example of it that is so deeply hypocritical from the British media. Truly, I don't think I've been this upset about a royal appointment since Camilla Tominey brought up Diana in an earlier newsletter from this year. So beforehand, she's talking about how Harry has pretty single-handedly been focused on the media and their intrusion into his life and others. Quote, "One aspect that has always puzzled me is why the father of two has only ever campaigned on this singular issue and not also drink driving and the wearing of seatbelts." Yeah, she goes there. Aren't we so lucky that World Mental Health Day happened just in time for the royal appointment? Aren't we just so blessed? Because it's hard to keep track, mental health and talking about your mental health is good because it's what the Prince and Princess of Wales are doing. Kate and William held an event to focus on mental health. The Prince and Princess of Wales are absolutely right to keep campaigning on this issue, having had such success raising awareness and ending stigma through the Heads Together campaign. Says the media that still perpetuates the stigma against mental illness? Sure. This is the same way he solved Middle East peace. Just asking. And she goes on to write this. "While I appreciate that William and Kate are figureheads for this movement and won't necessarily want to get too personal, I do question why they don't share more of their recent experiences." I'm sure I'm not going to follow this up with examples of Camilla negating the statement when it applies to other people. All right, of course I am, because I always bring receipts. Speaking out similarly to how Prince Harry did, in which she called a man who was paranoid and has failed to cope with his fame. Is that the kind of sharing that you want? You're going to treat with respect and empathy? Or the way that you and others negated and mocked the feelings of PTSD that Harry was said to have because of this NYC incident? The time that you said that there was no abuse to the Duchess? Never holding space for the fact that this kind of coverage and a lack of support would impact someone's mental health. Same way you hold space for yourself in this very newsletter when you write, quote, "Their mental health must have suffered hugely in the wake of Brexit. I know mine did, and I was only writing about it." When some of what you actually received were consequences for shoddy reporting, or the fact that you have praised William and Kate for keeping calm and carrying on and not expressing what they are going through mentally when problems have arisen, the fact that you have used that as a contrast to Harry and Meghan and their advocacy for mental health, which now you have just about faced your position because, again, it's now the future king and queen talking about it. I can almost guarantee if Prince William was saying, you know what, we can't blame everything on our mental health and we need to have a stiff upper lip, you would be writing an article co-signing that. This is not about mental health. This is about the people that are at the forefront talking about their experiences. It's also very telling what Camilla wants to hear from William and Kate. One of the things is perhaps Kate talking about the bullying that she received in school, which would be a great relatable topic to discuss with children. But it's interesting that Camilla doesn't bring up, what if Kate talks about her mental health and how it was impacted by the way the media covered her before she and William married? This is not about sharing your lived experience. It's about sharing an experience that the media is comfortable with and does not implicate them. The fact that the real impacts of racism on one's mental health are not explored tells me all I need to know about where this conversation is right now. I also have a hard time believing this from reporters and commentators that mocked Meghan for becoming emotional postpartum as Tom Bradby from ITV at the time asked her how she was holding up. It's also interesting that she wants to hear Prince William's experience about losing his mother at a young age and how he has coped. Which, if I were Prince William, I don't know if I would feel comfortable sharing, considering the way that Camilla and others have gone after his brother for sharing what it was like to lose his mother. Why couldn't you have empathy for Harry's experience losing a parent, but you feel like you would have it if William talked about it? I think what makes this royal appointment super upsetting is how disingenuous it is and hypocritical. The way Camilla and others have written about mental health when it comes to Harry and Meghan has been downright insulting and rude. And it has certainly not helped the stigma around discussing mental health. Who remembers all those articles after Spare came out mocking the different kinds of treatment Harry sought to help with his PTSD and other symptoms that he was experiencing? I know a lot of people forget what y'all write, but I do not. And the evidence speaks for itself. And I know There are going to be some users that are upset with what I'm about to say, but I can't help but look at what William and Kate are doing and see it as a hollow gesture. Because this awareness and initiative should have started with their own family. It should have started with recognizing the crumbling mental health of Meghan and also Harry. But it's never been like that, because if there's one thing that we are consistently shown, it's that the monarchy and the optics of the monarchy are more important than any one human being. And that is not healthy. Telling someone who is feeling suicidal and pregnant that they cannot go to a mental health facility because of the optics is not healthy. It's not humane. And it's certainly not ending the stigma around mental health. We cannot talk about mental health without talking about the way media coverage has affected all of these people, which obviously the British media does not want to have that conversation. We also cannot talk about mental health without talking about the real implications that sustained racism has on someone's mental health. If you can't even admit that racism is happening because you yourself can't see it, and you never start to question, maybe you can't see it because you do not have that lens, because you do not have that lived experience, then this whole conversation is a non-starter. I'm sorry, but the way mental health is discussed and how it's discussed depending on what royal is being talked about is absolute, utter bullshit. Real signal that you support mental health is using a newsletter to negate the mental health concerns and the speaking out of one couple in favor of another. Yeah, this one was gross.